What is up, YouTube? That's here, and today I'm super excited to be bringing you guys a Crown Tundra content video talking about my personal Tapu tier list. This is a video that was recommended to me in my comments section, and it really wanted to see a tier list of the Tapus that are coming back for Crown Tundra compared with the Pokemon that we already have that's set terrains. I thought it was a really cool idea for a video. I wanted to make a little bit of a Tapu tier list that expands upon it a little bit further, so thank you guys for recommending that. If you guys ever have recommendations for videos, leave those in the comments. I definitely want to hear what you guys want to see about Crown Tundra. You guys can also answer the question of the day and let me know where your own personal Tapu tier list is in the comments of this video, so hopefully you guys do that. Like I said, Tapus are going to be super important come Crown Tundra. Believe it or not, once this new expansion hits, you are going to have to run at least one of these 9 Pokemon in your team. You know, previously you would only really run terrains if you had like, you know, a seed that would help you benefit off it. So you could go like a Drifblim with like Psychic Seeds, or you could go like a Psychic Seeds NDD or something like that. You know, if we're talking about how the meta was really formed for Sword and Shield. But now you're gonna kind of having to be running these terrains just so your opponent can't have their terrain. If we compare the Pokemon that we already had in Sword and Shield, like Rillaboom, Pincurchin, Galarian Weezing, and both entities, you would really only use terrains if it gave you something. So, like, using Rillaboom, for example, it would give you Grassy Terrain, which would power up your Grassy Glide and make that hit really hard. Pincurchin, there was really no reason unless you had to run Electric Seeds, so, like, Pincurchin Hawlucha was a little bit popular. Galarian Weezing only really saw use with, the Neutralizing Gas, but the Misty Seeds one, there was never really a reason to run that, just because, you know, you'd have to run a Galarian Weezing, which was not that great. And both entity forms, again, with the addition of Expanding Force, cool. The reason you want to run it is so you can run Expanding Force. But now that the Tapus are out, these Pokemon, these 4 legendary Pokemon, are so important that, like, you have to run terrains just to make sure they don't have theirs. So if they have a Tapu Bulu in their team and you don't want them to have Grassy Terrain so you don't just auto lose, you have to run a different respecting terrain so you can switch in and take theirs away. I do know that all of the terrains, all the damage buffs to them got nerfed in Sword and Shield, so moves like, you know, Grassy Terrain, Electric Terrain, and Psychic Terrain, all of those went from a 1.5 power boost to the respective types to a 1.3, so it's not as significant, but to make up for it, they added moves like Grassy Glide, like Rising Voltage, and Expanding Force, and yeah, they added Misty Explosion, but that doesn't really, you know, play into this that much. So they added a bunch of new tools to make it so you're still hitting just as hard, and if you don't want to auto lose to Expanding Force Lele, well, maybe you think about bringing a couple other Tapus to, you know, deal with that. I guess the best way to explain it is you're gonna have to run one of these Pokemon, so me making a little bit of a video going over the tier list might be a pretty good idea. So you can see we've sorted it into a few different categories. We have the best, we have great, we have solid, we have this at home, and just this is the Tapu list. So I guess the first Tapu I want to talk about might as well just be Tapu Bulu. I think Tapu was a really good Tapu, and one thing about all the Tapus you really have to understand, other than Tapu Fini, who is the very defensive Tapu, all of the Tapus have, like, Oko potential against one another. Tapu Bulu, if it can get connections in with a Wood Hammer, can one-shot all 3 of the other Tapus, and Choice Scarf Tapu Bulu is possible to, you know, outspeed the Kokos, hit the Finis, hit the Leles. So, like, Tapu Bulu is a Tapu that needs to be respected. It's getting a bunch of really cool, you know, what is it? It's getting, like, a Stabbed Play Rough. It's getting so many new moves. It's getting, I think it already had Smart Strike, but I think it's getting, like, fighting attacks and things like that. It's getting so many new tools in Crown Tundra that it is just a very, very good option. I don't know if I would rank it in the same tier as, like, Rillaboom, just because Rillaboom gets Fake Out, and I think Fake Out is super important. Having a secondary Fairy Stab is something Tapu Bulu gets where Rillaboom doesn't, but I think Fake Out is still a little bit too important. So to start with Tapu Bulu, I think it's probably safe to put Tapu Bulu into the great tier, where it's not amazing, but you will be seeing Tapu Bulus. It's definitely like the meme player's Tapu Bulu. Actually, I thought about something funny. If we're gonna make like joke tier lists, I could probably make like 30 different tier lists. Like, hear me out here. So if you were someone who is cool and is good, this would be your tier list. If we were just gonna rank them in order. If you were someone who is cool, you'd rank them like that. If you were someone who favors memes over other things, you would rank them like that. If you were someone who started in 2017, you would rank them like that. I think it's kind of funny how like you can tell, like, if like Tapu's tier lists are like personality tests, you know? Like Lele, most of the players really would resonate with Lele. People who are really hyper-aggressive players would resonate with Koko. People who resonate with memes would resonate with Bulu. People who resonate with like really defensive cores would resonate with Fini. So that's another way to like kind of pick which Tapu you would like to use, just by, I don't know, just by stuff like that. But anyways, let's get back to the list. We had our fun. Tapu Bulu is a pretty great Pokemon, and I expect to use. My favorite set is a Scarf set, but you know, it can be a Sub-Seeder, it can be a Wall Breaker. It's a great Pokemon that kind of goes in with Ultra Beast, and I do think Tapu is a really good Pokemon. The next Pokemon up is Tapu Koko, and I personally think Tapu Koko might be one of the best Pokemon ever made. It has a 130 base speed. It actually has access to moves that let it also one-shot all the other Tapus. So like Rising Voltage, if your terrain is up, will be able to one-shot Lele's and Finis. And Tapu Koko already gets Brave Bird. So Tapu Koko is going to be able to go for air streams, which you can Oko the Bulu. Tapu Koko, like I said, that 130 base speed is absolutely massive. Electric Terrain is such a good one too because it stopped things from being put to sleep. It's a little bit of a mix like between just putting things to sleep and then Misty Terrain stopping like everything and mitigating dragon attacks. I think it's actually just as good as Misty Terrain most of the time because like what's the status condition you're most afraid of most of the time? It's sleep. So like Tapu Koko works similar in the way Tapu Fini does, has such a great speed. I personally like Sash sets on this thing, but I know like Life Orb sets are really popular. Spec sets are going to be really popular. Hopefully we don't get to a degenerate spot where like Scarf sets on Koko are really popular, but you know, we have seen those in the past, especially in restricted mon formats. I do think Tapu Koko is the best one. I think Tapu Koko best in the business. Tapu Koko is so good. You can kind of splash this Pokemon in your team, and you can use it to deny all the other Tapus from just sweeping you, and then when you can get Tapu Koko in safely through the use of like just hard switching or whatever, like Tapu Koko can switch in on any of these three Tapus, take away their terrain, they won't KO you, and now that you have your terrain, you can just KO them back. So if you're looking for a Tapu check, I would say Tapu Koko is the best one. It checks these Tapus, it checks most of the Ultra Beasts, and it checks a lot of like the restricted mons. Like people are going to be really surprised by how well Tapu Koko does, especially for, you know, especially if people don't really use those type of Pokemon. So up next is Lele. I was actually thinking I was going to rate Lele the same as Koko just because of the expanding force and all the other things. But I do actually think that Tapu Koko is in like a tier of its own. And like the best way to really do it would be to like organize it like this. Where like Lele is right under Koko. Remember, Lele gets 95 base speed, which is actually a little bit slow. It's slower than Urshifu's. It's slower than a lot of Pokemon. Like we have a lot of really good Pokemon like Mimikyu's still around. You know, the Urshifus, Hydreigons, those things getting to go first is actually pretty important. If you also look at like the other starters and things like that, Cinderace and Inteleon, those Pokemon weren't around where Lele was around, so like you're pretty much forced to run Scarf Lele. And do I think Scarf Lele is in like the tier 1 tier? I really don't. So Scarf Lele, if that is the most popular set with like expanding force, is going to be knocked down to here. Lele gets a bunch of really good moves. It gets like Ally Switch and things like that. But like we're going to compare it to Indies a little bit later on, and you're going to see that like Indies pack just as much of a punch. And I really just feel Lele's great. You know, if we're organizing this in order, it's the top of the great tier, but it's not necessarily the best. And I'm going to organize Tapu Bulu. Sorry, Tapu Bulu. Tapu Fini is also great. Just because, like, nothing really... Like, you can one-shot it with other Tapus, but, like, that's not saying that, like, other people are just going to let their Tapu Finis get one-shotted. Tapu Fini has really, really good defensive typing. If you think about Primarina being, like, a water fairy type, and a lot of people really like Primarina right now, Tapu Fini like blows that Pokemon's existence out of the water. It's so much bulkier. It's kind of strong enough. It gets Calm Mind. It gets Haze if you want to Haze. Icy Winds. Tapu Fini gets Heal Pulse. There's so many things Tapu Fini can do to just stick around and make a game super, super hard to play. Also note that like a lot of people like Misty training with Tapu Fini and going for self-swaggers into your teammates. So you get the +2 attack, but then you won't get the confuse. So it's really, really good for people that want to do like that type of play style. I think Fini's great. A lot of people would actually put Fini in the best slot because once the meta develops and becomes known and standard, that's when you're going to see a lot of Tapu Finis, you know, actually hit the meta. It's exactly what happened in 2017. Koko and Lele were huge at the beginning. No one ran Bulu because everyone was teching those poison and steel attacks to deal with the other Tapus. And then after probably about 2 months, people started just running Fini on like every team because it's so safe. It makes so you can't get sleeped, can't get burned, can't get frozen, like none of that stuff. Misty Terrain says no TY, my guy, and it's just a super safe option. I've used Fini at a lot of events before. I've taken it to regionals, but I do not think that it's better than the other ones. I actually think Bulu is just going to be a little bit better than Fini, in my own personal opinion, just because I really want to test all the new Bulu tools, and I've always been a little bit more of a meme lord than like super standard Fini, so I do like Bulu. So let's take a look at how the other Pokemon we already have stack up to these things. You know, a lot of people were really surprised that we even had terrains in Sword and Shield, and they got put on Pokemon that kind of sucked. You know, Rillaboom didn't get it until like halfway through with the Isle of Armor, and like I would say historically, like the only ones that were even half decent. Let's not move that around. The only ones that were like even half decent were like the Indies. And so let's start with the Indies. I think Indie Male is very comparable to Lele. Let's just put it in solid for right now. I think it's very comparable to Lele. They have the same base speed, right? But Indie Male has a few less special attack. And the only thing that, like, Lele, like, first of all, they both get Dazzling Gleam, and they both really want to use Dazzling Gleam because they can both punish the Urshifus. But, like, I guess Indie Male gets, like, Mystical Fire. That's okay. That's good against Ferrothorns. Lele doesn't really have that. Lele has, like, access to Thunderbolt, though, and Focus Blast, which Indie Male doesn't. The main thing that I would say Indie Male gets that Lele doesn't, because they both get Ally Switch, is Indie Male gets Trick Room. And you can go, like, Imprison Trick Room and use it as a really aggressive way to, you know, set up your terrains, deny terrains from your opponent, and then still have an Imprison Trick Room on if you do need that. So, like, not even if you want to use Imprison Trick Room, you can just use raw Trick Room with this thing. I also want to say that Indie Male gets After You, which I don't know if Lele gets. But I do think that that's a good enough option to separate it, but not make it better than Lele, because Lele just has way too much good base stats and really good coverage, so Lele's still a lot better. But yeah, it's a solid Pokemon. Let's look at Indie Female. A little bit better, a little bit more defensive, gets those heal pulses, really good defensive options, and more importantly than that, it gets Follow Me. And I do think that, like, I really want to put it here. I really want to put it in Great. But remember how I said every team has to have one Tapu? Or one Terrain Mon? I really think everyone's going to put their Tapus, everyone's going to have a lot of fun, and people are just going to start running Indie. I think people are going to start cutting Tokus for Indie on a lot of teams, and Indie is just going to come in and destroy everything. I've been doing a lot of testing, talking to a lot of players, and a lot of players also think the same way. I think Indie Female, just through Follow Me, like, team, like, I just want you to imagine it like this. Imagine if Tapu Lele had Follow Me. You'd be like, S tier, Follow Me, stupid busted. Imagine if Tapu Koko had Follow Me, S tier. And the reason, remember, the reason you're using these Tapus isn't for their actual typing. It's a little bit because of their stats, but it's mostly because of their terrains. You're using these Tapus to set up your terrains and to deny your opponents. Indie Female being a slower Tapu, technically, than, like, you know, Lele and Koko and things like that, lets it technically set slower terrains, and it technically can Follow Me, right? So if you lead Koko and I lead Indie, you will lose that game. You will lose. There's no way that you're gonna break this Indie with that Koko. I guess you can go for like Wild Charge. Cool, take a ton of recoil, and you won't even KO me because I'm an Indie, and I can just Follow Me you away. Indie's super good, and I really think it's gonna be very popular. So get ready for a lot more Indie Female. And also, like, the thing about Indie Female is you can Sash it, you can Seeds it, you can Dark Reduce Berry it, you can Citrus Berry, Wiki Berry it. There's so many cool things it can do. It still gets Expanding Force. I think it's a really, really good Pokemon. And I'm definitely excited to use it. Looking at Rillaboom here. I think Rillaboom's really good. I think Rillaboom is comparable to the other Tapus, but right behind them. I think Rillaboom is a great option. I do think Rillaboom might eventually be better than Bulu, but just only because of Fake Out, right? Only because of Fake Out. That's literally the only reason why. And in a meta that's going to be decided by Indie Females and Tapu Leles, who knows how big Fake Out will be. But I do think Rillaboom is still really, 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 really nice. And let's look at Pincurchin. Pincurchin, slow electric terrain user. I'm actually going to leave Pincurchin, though we have this at home. Pincurchin can stay in the box, unfortunately. Unfortunately, Pincurchin is just not going to cut it for this. It's just not going to cut it. I really do feel that this Pokemon's a little bit too slow. We've used Pincurchin recently in some videos, too. There's no reason to even compare it to Tapu Koko. They could not be any more different. The only thing Pincurchin has going for it is to get Sucker Punch. And other than that, its stats are just way too underwhelming. It's almost okay in a TR, but again, just being okay in TR doesn't let you even compete with these guys. I wouldn't even put it in the solid mark. I will put Weezing in the solid mark, because one cool thing that Weezing can do is if a meta gets like really, really dependent on terrains and things like that, you know, sure, you could use Neutralizing Gas Weezing to turn off terrains, but you can make it look like you're Neutralizing Gas Weezing and then sneak in a Misty Surge one. And I think it might actually be kind of cool on a couple teams at some point. So I'm gonna put it in the solid tier just because I think Weezing is a solid enough Pokemon to be able to pull it off. Also note Weezing's gonna get a big buff going into this expansion, just because all these Tapus are all fairy types. They're all weak against Weezing's poison typing. So I do think that Weezing's just usable just because of the fact that all these Pokemon have weaknesses to it. I do think the Neutralizing Gas will still be a lot better, but I do think that there is a reason for Misty Terrain existing. So like, let's say if you like lead Tapu Lele and I lead Weezing and I put up the Misty Terrain, you might not be able to KO like a vested Weezing with like a Psychic or an Expanding Force, and I could just go for a big Sludge Bomb if I have no special attack investment to be able to pick up the KO. Same thing with Bulu. Fini might be a double shot, but you can see Weezing's getting against pretty much every Pokemon on this list. So that is pretty much going to be my list. I do think Tapu Koko is by far and away the best Tapu. I think NDD female is going to be the second best Tapu, even though it's not a Tapu. And then Lele, Bulu, Fini, Rillaboom, NDD male, Weezing, and Pincurchin. So hopefully you guys have your own list. If you guys disagree with me, feel free to let me know why in the comments below. If I said something that, you know, I had incorrect information, or if you just feel that you think Tapu Fini is going to be a lot better, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Be sure to give me examples and show why you actually think, you know, your list is, you know, more correct than mine. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.